What is the definition of safety? Safety is the condition of being safe from the risk of danger, the quality or state of not presenting or involving risk or danger. Wow, that sounds like a good thing. So why do people cringe the moment we start talking about it? Could it be because once a person acknowledges the fact that they have been introduced to being safe, that there should be no excuses for that individual becoming injured on their own account? There's a word for that. What is it again? Oh yes, being held accountable. Either way, wherever you go, you will stare at it on a daily basis without even knowing it. How? Well, let's see. From the time that you wake up in the morning, there is an alarm clock. What safety feature does it represent? It does not allow you to oversleep. You then go to the restroom to get cleaned up, and lo and behold, you have hot water and cold water. Another safety feature. Everything from the handle that is possibly in your bathtub for you to grasp so you do not slip and fall, to the GFCI outlet next to the sink. They all deal with safety. Shoot, even those rubber duck sticky adhesives some of you have on your shower floor are safety. Let's face it, they look cool, but their main reason for having them is to prevent one from slipping. But wait, I'm not done yet. Let's skip to getting ready and leaving the house. What do? We lock the door. Another safety feature. How amazing is that? Oh, and your drive to work? Safety is everywhere. Seatbelt, stop signs, yield signs, pedestrian crossings, stoplights. The list goes on and on. Let's not forget the enforcement of public safety, also known as the police, the fuzz, the 5-0. Don't really see anybody doing burnouts in front of cop cars or driving without their seatbelt, or better yet, talking on their cell phone. So why is it when we get to work that safety goes out the window and the only 6-letter word people think of is being unsafe? In this module, we're going to review some incidents where safety was not being enforced in the workplace so that you can see what occurred for the lack of it. We will then also explain what could have been done to avoid the situation in the first place. In this video, we will review some actual workplace injuries and fatalities with employees just like you and me. We are in no way disrespecting the unfortunate individuals, but feel that their stories just might get you to understand that these rules and guidelines are there for a reason, even if the event has never occurred at your workplace. November 2012. A line worker was using a 16-foot extension ladder with good rubber feet placed on a solid, level surface to access the roof of the small building. He had gone up and down the ladder several times before the bottom slipped out from under him as he was descending the ladder, causing him to fall approximately 11 feet to the concrete ground below. According to him, the ladder was not tied off or secured for movement, and it was not standard practice to tie off or secure ladders. He was hospitalized as a result of the fall and sustained unspecified fractures from the event. He had received ladder safety training from his employer prior to the incident. When getting on or off ladders at upper levels, you must make sure the ladder being used to access an upper level has the side rails extended at least 3 feet above the landing surface, if the ladder length permits. You must do the following if a ladder used to access an upper level is not long enough to obtain a 3-foot side rail extension above the landing surface. Secure the ladder at the top to a rigid support that will not deflect. Provide a grasping device, such as a grab rail, to assist in mounting and dismounting the ladder. Make sure the ladder deflection under a load would not, by itself, cause it to slip off of its support. September 2012. An employee was operating a backhoe on a newly installed, closed, flat, 2-lane highway. For some reason, the backhoe veered off the roadway, rolled over, and landed in a ditch. The employee was partially ejected from the backhoe's cab and was pinned under the cab. He was killed. Upon further investigation, it was determined the backhoe's rear digging arm was off-center. The safety pin to lock the arm was still in its holding bracket. The cab's windows and doors were broken and glass was missing, and the seatbelt inside the cab was functional, but not utilized. The general requirements for a backhoe are: all cab glass shall be safety glass, or equivalent, that introduces no visible distortion affecting the safe operation of any machine covered by this part. All vehicles in use must be checked at the beginning of each shift to make sure that the following parts, equipment, and accessories are in safe operating condition and free of apparent damage that could cause failure while in use. Service brakes, including trailer brake connections. The parking system, the emergency stopping system, tires, horn, steering mechanism, coupling devices, seat belts, operating controls, and safety devices. These requirements also apply where such equipment is necessary. Lights, reflectors, windshield wipers, defrosters, fire extinguishers, steps and handholds for vehicle access, and any other necessary equipment. All defects must be corrected before the vehicle is placed into service. Some defects? No. All defects. Seatbelts and anchorages meeting federal motor vehicle safety standards must be installed in all motor vehicles and used by all occupants of the vehicle. So in other words, wear your seatbelt. July 2012. A meat cutter was cutting beef shanks into slices when his index and middle fingers on his right hand came into contact with the running saw blade. As a result, he suffered a partial amputation of these fingers. He was hospitalized for 12 days. He underwent surgery to reattach his fingers. The employee stated that he did not use a pusher plate when he was cutting beef shank on the bandsaw because he was not taught to use it for this operation, the slicing of shanks. The employer provided signed documents by the injured employee on the bandsaw safety sheet, which included the statement, quote, "You must use the pusher plate when cutting close to the product to prevent your fingers from getting too close to the blade," end quote. However, the employee never used the pusher plate and was not trained to use it. The employee's supervisor admitted that he had observed the employee cutting beef shanks in the past without using a pusher plate on the bandsaw. It was determined that the employer failed to implement safety training and ensure that the employee used the pusher plate provided when slicing the ends of meat. First things first, the employer must protect employees from reciprocating or other moving parts of operation by using one or more safeguarding methods. Examples of safeguarding methods include guards, devices, safeguarding by distance, and safeguarding by location. Enclose or guard all portions of the blade except for the working portion of the blade between the guide rolls and the table. Be sure the portion of the blade between the sliding guide and the wheel guard protects the front and outer side of the blade and is self-adjusting to move with the guide. Also be sure that it adjusts so the gap between the guide rolls and stock is as small as is practical. Two definitions I want to review before we proceed: push block and push stick. A push block is a non-metallic device with one or more handles. A push block also has a flat bottom surface with either a heel or friction material on it, used as a hold down and feed device. The purpose of this is to provide a safe distance between the hands and the cutting tool. A push stick is a non-metallic stick-shaped device designed to provide a safe distance between the hands and the cutting tool. It has, as part of its design, a notched end with a heel and toe to hold down and feed the workpiece. Use the push block or push stick when it is available. But what if it's missing? Then you cannot use that equipment until it is replaced. Be sure to fully read and understand the operations and guards that pertain to the piece of equipment you are using. When in doubt, look it up in the operator's manual or call us at ICM for assistance. Be sure employees are properly trained and documentation kept for proof of training. Now, in some cases, such as this one, the employer was probably given some form of disciplinary action because the employee was not using the equipment as it was deemed. And also, the employee's supervisor failed to perform corrective action once noted and let it go without any disciplinary actions being documented. Remember, it is every employer's responsibility to provide a safe and healthy workplace free from recognized hazards. That is usually the first citation your employer will see on incidents like this. Let's review one more incident. March 2012. An employee was operating an unguarded power press without any additional safety devices in place when he inadvertently actuated the press with an unguarded foot pedal. The employee had 4 fingers on the right hand within the point of operation when the press cycled, and he sustained amputations to each of the 4 fingers. The employee was driven to the local hospital by the company foreman, where he was admitted for 3 days after undergoing surgical procedures on each of the fingers involved. The employee was hurt on the first day of his employment with this employer and within approximately 2 hours of starting work. Let me say that one more time. The employee was hurt on the first day of his employment with this employer and within approximately 2 hours of starting work. That is insane. Listen up. I said it before and I will say it again. Every employer is to provide a workplace free from recognized hazards. Do you think his employer accomplished that with the power press missing its guards? I think not. The employer must provide and use safety devices, safeguards, and use work practices, methods, processes, and means that are reasonably adequate to make your workplace safe. Once again, that did not happen here. Keep in mind, we are just reviewing the basics of general safety. We have not even gotten into the equipment itself. Prohibit employees from using tools and equipment that are not safe. Heads up, as this applies to all equipment, materials, tools, and machinery, whether owned by the employer or another firm or individual. Now let's talk about the power press itself. Be sure to safeguard the point of operation. What this means is the employer must protect employees from point of operation hazards by using properly installed, adjusted, and maintained guards or devices. The employer may use a combination of guards and devices as long as employees are completely protected from point of operations hazards. Press operators must be trained in order to safely operate the press. Ensure modified or reconstructed presses have instructions to establish new or changed guidelines for use and care of the press. Last but not least, inspect and maintain presses. Make sure maintenance personnel are trained and competent to inspect and maintain power presses. Be sure to keep records of all maintenance or repair work. Inspect and test the following press systems at least weekly: the clutch and brake mechanism, the anti-repeat feature, and the single stroke mechanism. Also, keep records of all inspections and tests. Just as a heads up, there are 2 exemptions. You do not have to do weekly inspections if your press has both performance of safety-related functions monitoring, previously called control reliability, and a stopping performance monitor, previously called a brake system monitor. As you can see by the variety of incidents, many of the employees have been doing the unsafe act for so long that they thought it was proper protocol. Don't be fooled. All it takes is one time, as you have heard in our last scenario. Take the time and ensure that all of the equipment or machines being used have all of their required guards and that the operators are using all of the required personal protective equipment. Work together with your employer in creating a more safe work establishment, not only for you, but also for your fellow coworkers. If you happen to see any unsafe act or hazard, report it. Thank you for viewing this module, and remember, safety is more than a 6-letter word. It can be the difference between life and death, not only for your coworkers, but for you as well.